In the last class, we saw two types of graphs that are used very frequently, and in fact, they're used more frequently than they should be. As we saw, the pie charts and bar graphs have in fact their positive sides, but also are not very strong ways of summarizing data. In this class, on the other hand, we're going to have a look at two types of graphs that are not used as much as they should be. They provide very good information, in fact, in some situations, essential information, but unfortunately, they're not as popular yet as they should be. So I hope that you will contribute to the further popularization of these two graphs. The first one, of course, as you can see, is box plots. And these box plots are used, as you can see also from the table, in situations where we're dealing with actually numerical data. Now, we've seen before that numerical data can be graphed on a frequency histogram. And by the way, you remember that a histogram is in fact a bar graph for continuous data, and therefore their bars are presented adjacent to each other. For this particular data that you see here, this is what the histogram would look like. And this is not a bad idea, actually. This is a very good use of a bar graph or a histogram. But there is a great alternative that allows us to do some things which are a little bit better than a histogram in the following sense. It's an alternative that requires less space. It allows for easier comparisons and overlaps. For instance, if we have to compare two groups with bar graphs, that requires a lot of space, and it's not always very easy. And also it gives us a quick visual impression of both average and variability. The histogram and bar graphs in general also give us a reasonably good impression of average and variability, but they require a lot of work in order to be prepared. So how does this work? Well, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to start from this table, or from even better from the raw data, and we're going to compute a number of basic statistics that we've seen before. Namely, we're going to look at the minimum, which in this case, as you can see, is 9, and then we can compute the first quartile, and you may want to check on your own, maybe pause the video for now, and check on your own that the first quartile is 14. And we can look then for the median, and the median, again, I'll leave it as an exercise to check that it is 16. Similarly, the third quartile turns out to be 17, and the maximum turns out to be 22. Now, these five numbers all together are also called the 5-point summary for obvious reasons. There are five numbers. Sometimes, by the way, they're also called the fine number summary. So there are five numbers that summarize the whole data set, both in terms of averages, since there is the median, and in terms of variability, giving us the range and the interquartile range. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to organize these 5 points, these five numbers, on a nice simple graph as follows. First of all, we're going to draw a ruler. So a little segment on which we're going to put some tick marks at equal spacings, and we're going to do it in such a way that we're going to cover the whole range. Notice that the one I've drawn starts from a little bit below the minimum to quite a bit above the maximum, and you're going to see in a minute why. Then what we're going to do is we're going to locate each one of the five numbers on this ruler. So the number 9, we're going to locate it on the ruler and mark it down. Similarly, the 14, the first quartile, we're going to locate it and mark it. The median, locate and mark. The third quartile, locate and mark. And the maximum, locate and mark. At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the minimum and the maximum, so the 9 and the 22, and we're going to connect them or join them through a single line. At the end of these lines, quite often we put 2 bars just to say, well, here is where it ends. Okay, and then what we do is we look at the quartiles, so in this case 14 and 17, and we're going to draw a box that begins at the first quartile and ends at the third quartile. And finally, we're going to draw a line at the median. And what you have here, quite simply, is the box plot. So the box plot is simply a graph consisting of a box and 2 little lines extending from it, which at the same time includes information about the minimum, the maximum, the quartiles, and the median. And therefore, in a very quick way, we're getting both measures of averages, measures of central tendency, as well as measure of variability. In the next little video, I'll show you what else we can do with these box plots.